Hello everyone, it's Tana. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be working with the April 2022 release once again, and I'm going to make a Mother's Day mini slimline card. And also, we're going to make a 5x7 card today, which I do not make often, but I wanted to do something really cool and I needed the space. So, we'll get to that. Moving on. So I really like the other flowers in the Hold My Flowers stamp set, and I wanted to use them in a different way. So I'm taking this little, which one is this? I believe it's the teacup with the flowers, and I'm just stamping the flowers in black ink on my mini slimline panel, which I believe is cut to be 3 1/4 by 5 3/4, slightly smaller than my mini slimline card base, and I make my mini slimline card bases 3 1/2 by 6 when they're all folded. And then I'm taking the bunny breakfast image. I believe that's what it's called. You guys know how I am with names. I'll make sure I put the name up for you guys, and everything will be in the description box below. And I'm going to pop that up. It's already colored. I remember showing you guys that in the last video, that I had a whole bunch of images colored. And then I decided she needed some babies. So I took a lot of the little babies from a couple of stamped out teacup images from the Bunny Brew stamp set, colored in the little baby bunnies, and cut them out and placed them around her bed. So I think there's 4 total. And I stuck one in there so he looked like he was behind the little breakfast tray, cut a little slit in the bottom of the bed. And then I wanted to add some splatters to my panel because we're not going to color those flowers. They're going to stay black and white. So I took some of this cool Yuli holographic watercolor paint and my bling ring from Pear Blossom Press to make some splatters on here. And then I also used that little tiny purple watercolor from Yuli. It was like a free sample, so I do not know what color it is. It didn't come with a color. But I was sticking with the purple theme because that's what color I made the Mama Bunny's bedspread. So, and then I have a very pale purple piece of, or more like lavender matte for our floral panel. And I popped that up on foam tape. And then I stamped out Happy Mother's Day and Fur Baby. But I made it so it was like Fur Baby Happy Mother's Day because they're little bunnies. Get it? And heat embossed that with clear embossing powder, and then I fussy cut that out right around the words rather than trying to make it a straight sentiment. And we're going to put that up in the upper left hand corner after we center our main image here with Mama and her babies. And I'm just adding a little bit of glue to the foam tape to make sure I can move it around and place it where it needs to go. And then when it's dry, you know, I can make sure it's not going anywhere. And I did place some foam tape on under the sentiment strip as well. And then I added some of these kind of like ombre iridescent half pearls that kind of match with the purple and blue in the card. And that's it for this first card. Now, the second card, the 5x7. I'm doing a teacup race slider card. So I did not cut much off of this panel here. I think there's like 1/8 of an inch off of it all the way around. And the card base itself is 5x7. So I'm taking this kind of loopy slider die here from my stash, and I measured out where the teacups would sit and put my 3 slider cuts into it through the die cutting machine. The only thing I might change if I were to make the card again is how low that third one sits. Now I did it on purpose because I knew I was stamping the little bunny with the spoon hanging over his shoulder with the hearts. I wanted him up in the corner because I needed something in the background, and he's dropping hearts all over the, throughout the card. But in the end, it made it more difficult to put the slider together. So my slider set comes with these little paper dots, and this is one way you can put the slider together, by stacking those up until you have something to the thickness that you need to glue your two bigger nickel-sized pieces together. You know, one behind the slider and one connected to your image with the little thickness of dots in between. I'm using plastic slider pieces, elements that I have in my stash, but I did want to show you how you could utilize those if you did not have plastic slider pieces. Another problem I ran into was I used pennies to make them heavier so they would slide better. And, well, I'll get to that when the time comes. So here I marked where the slider holes will be on the panel behind, so I could put down some dark colored cardstock behind there because I wanted it to kind of look like a darker racetrack. So I just put some double-sided adhesive on each of those dark navy strips of paper and adhered them in their corresponding spots, and just trim the excess off the panel. And you'll excuse my throat. I'm home alone. It is Easter. Everybody had to go to dinner without me because I am still sick. Guys, I went to Florida and it was beautiful and warm, and I was sick the entire time. I started to feel better, and then it got cold here, and I woke up on Easter morning, it's snowing, and I feel like crap again. So here I am stamping out my sentiment, and I had to kind of make my own. So I have tea and cup from the same sentiment there. And I'm using my little Post-it graph paper to line those up and make sure they're in their correct spots. And then I will stamp them out and mask off the rest of the sentiment that I'm not using. Just don't forget to take your tape off before you stamp. I've done that. And I actually ended up doing this sentiment like 4 times. For some reason, the ink was not drying after I stamped it, and I was trying to ink blend the sentiment strip to match the letters, which you'll see soon. And it kept smearing my ink, so I did it 3 times. Finally, ding, light bulb over the head, like Jackson says, ink blended the sentiment strip first and then stamped it out. So here I am putting my plastic slider pieces onto the first disc. And I'm just using Barely Art glue to adhere those. And the glue that will work on the plastic pieces. The problem I ran into was trying to use the glue on the pennies as well. Not that it wouldn't work, but my pieces were becoming so heavy that it kept falling off. Eventually I ended up using glossy accents to adhere my pennies to the plastic discs. Now I'm using Kitsch Flamingo, Tumbled Glass, Wilted Violet, Lucky Clover, and I have cut out these letters that spell race from the Nicole Lower Alpha dies, I believe they're called, from the Rabbit Hole Designs. I'll put that on the screen for you as well before I upload. And I ink blended all my letters, and they have dimension on them because I originally planned on putting them on the front of the card. But we talked about this card being 5x7 because I needed the space. Yet with 3 large teacup racing images, there was not enough room for those letters, so I had to put them on the inside. So here I'm just moving the sliders back and forth now that they're adhered, and making sure that when I place my foam tape, my slider mechanisms are not going to run into any foam tape. And I do think that the bottom one is running into a foam tape somewhere, like when I doubled it up, because I'm having an issue with it, but I will fix that before I give it to somebody. So here I'm laying down. Now I'm using Hefty Doodle's double width or height foam tape, and because I added so much to my slider mechanisms, I had to double that foam tape up again. So you might want to consider using the paper dots if you don't want your card as thick as this, especially if you're going to mail it. But a small padded envelope will do just fine for that card. I don't mind the extra postage. Now I'm adding some glue to the foam tape before I adhere that panel to the back of it with the dark navy blue strips. And it's slightly crooked, but that's okay because you're not going to see it from the front. And then I'm adding some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to that panel so I can adhere it to the card base. And now I have my sentiment strip that says teacup, ... place that on the card front there. And then I decided to add an exclamation point to race, so I took it from the Nicole Upper Alpha dies, cut out 4 of those, glued them together, and ink blended them with squeezed lemonade distress ink. And I decided to go with the playful placement of the letters to make sure they all fit across the width of the inside card panel. And then most likely this will be for like a birthday, so before I send it to somebody, I'll stamp happy birthday underneath it. I put some very strong, very sticky double-sided adhesive on that panel before I placed it inside the card. Let me just say I edited out the part where I stuck it in the wrong place and struggled to get it off. So you guys imagine what that looked like. I just used my Rabbit Hole Designs powder tool there on my sliders so that they would move more easily back and forth, and yes, the powder does help them move. And that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys liked everything you saw here today. Don't forget to check out the Rabbit Hole Designs on Instagram and the Facebook group, and sign up for the email so you can be aware of the monthly releases. And we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye for now, guys.